Hey guys, Jordan here, and in this video I'm going to be talking a little bit about gear and settings, so let's get into it. Alright, so if you're new to my channel and you're learning or do real estate photography, make sure to subscribe as I put out consistent content on the topic. Today's video is a comment from Jeep TJ Wheelan on a video I made struggling with image noise. Things to consider. If you haven't seen that one, I'll link it below. This one's kind of long, so let me read it real quick. It says, great tips. I bought the Laowa 9mm f2.8 lens for the Canon M50. It's a great lens and I prefer manual over autofocus. Set it to infinity, and most everything is in sharp focus. My only gripe is I wish it had the f1.4 stop like the Sigma 16mm. That lens is amazing in low light, absolutely no noise. Unfortunately, not wide enough for RE, so that would be real estate. The Laowa 9mm has noise in low light, even at f2.8. However, as long as I shoot on sunny days, the Laowa 9mm, the best lens for the M50, and 4K is acceptable. Much better than I thought. 90% of my videos are shot in 1080p 60 frames per second, but still nice to know I have a solid lens to shoot in 4K when requested. I returned the Sigma 16mm, but thinking of getting it again, or something better overall for real estate low light interiors. They have to be shot on cloudy days. It's true what they say, there's no such thing as the perfect lens. But yeah, I do think in general, you know, everybody can have their preferences on what type of equipment they want to shoot with, right? For me, I try to, you know, not have to switch lenses or have a more, I guess you would say, more dynamic tool, right? I just look at everything as tools, right? You can get great results with an iPhone, or you can get great results with this. It's just about what tools work best for you or most efficient, and what you make it enjoyable for you. Right now, my favorite lens, because primarily I shoot Sony, is the 16-35 f4 power zoom. Now, you did mention, you know, 2.8 versus 1.4. Obviously, the bigger iris, the more light. Your camera body is going to have to push ISO less, and that's why it would be less noise. But at the end of the day, I think the noise factor really depends on the camera body that you're using. It's not necessarily because, you know, on the A7 IIIs that when I'm shooting on right here, you don't have to have the lowest setting. Like, I think the variability of noise lies more on the quality of the camera body that you're using, but a little bit of noise isn't problematic. But I have kind of been in your shoes a bit, because you're a Canon shooter, and I've noticed definitely significantly more noise when I'm shooting Canon over when I'm shooting with my Sony. And that just whatever, different cameras they're just different tools. They are better at different things. There's no perfect camera body, there's no perfect lens, but I will say as close as you can get to perfection, in my opinion, is the Sony A1. I really like the power zoom. Not necessarily, it's not my best lens that I have from an optics standpoint. Optically, for real estate photography, you know, primes are great, you know. So I have a bunch of prime lenses as well, and I do like to switch depending if you can get some more creative looks with a larger aperture setting prime lens. You know, you go 1.4 or whatever, you can get some nice depth of field if you're doing videos. It really just depends on the products that you're trying to create, right? But yeah, I think the Canon M50 is a really great starter camera. That's one that I actually don't have. I think I have the R5 or the R6. I have the full frame, like Canon. I have equivalent Sony cameras, but it's hard for me to shoot with a prime for all of real estate photography, like, because this is typically how I shoot with the power zoom For front shots, I like to back up and zoom in. I like to usually stand in the middle of the street, zoom in, versus standing on the sidewalk, just getting an ultra wide, because you're gonna get way less distortion using, like, you know, if your lens is set to like 24 millimeter, right? If you get right up on it, you can see how if you're real close to the property, you're gonna see that stretching and distorting of the house, which I don't really like that look. So scooting back, zooming in, and then going into the house. Most things I'm shooting 16 millimeter. You know, you're shooting wider, just trying to capture more room. But anyways, those are just kind of my preferences. I just find it hard to shoot with the prime, but setting to infinite. I mean, you're probably just gonna have issues if you're just in a smaller bathroom and there's something that's close. It's probably not gonna show, you know, super sharp. You know, usually it's a little bit less than infinite is the ideal. But if you're using focus peaking or whatever tools just to make sure that your shots are in focus, then I mean, the mindset that you go into shooting with primes and manual focus is something that I personally don't like to focus on so much. I like to focus more on composition and having a tool to do most of the other stuff for me automatically, even though I do like to adjust and push and test ISO settings and different settings, and at what aperture settings is it hitting, or does it look the best, crisper windows. Usually with the lower aperture setting, if you're shooting a room, usually way in the foreground on certain shots, it's not that crisp, but it really just depends on the look and feel of the product. So at the end of the day, these are all just tools. Everybody can have their preferences. That's what's so great about real estate photography. There's not a one size fits all. You have to do it this exact way. No, I mean, there's a lot of flexibility to shoot, and I don't think you necessarily need a, like, okay, this person does it this way, I have to do it. No, you don't have to do it that way. You don't have to shoot with those exact settings. You can adjust and you can test different things, right? Like, I've made videos shooting houses, shooting at like an f4, and people in the comments are like, why are you shooting at f4? I mean, because I know my gear and I know what results I'm trying to get, and I know it's acceptable for me. Like, standards like f7.1 or f8, or, you know, if you're outside, maybe f13, but whatever. Like, you don't have to listen or do something based on what somebody else says, right? At the end of the day, this is your thing. You want to do it a certain way, by all means do it that way, right? Or use whatever equipment you do. So anyways, kind of got off on a rant there, but if you got value out of this video, hit the like button and subscribe if you're into real estate photography and you haven't already. We'll see you guys on the next one.